Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bib. I'm your host, Lisa Watkins, and I am delighted to be here with you all today in this middle of the day, in this middle of the long run, in this middle of the night. However you are listening to me, I thank you, and I am delighted to be here with you all. Big congratulations to everyone who took on the Oak Park Challenge. Forgot to mention that in last week's episode, but I had talked about another race, but I didn't want to let another week go by without saying congratulations to all of you here in Huntsville and the surrounding area that completed the Oak Park Challenge. That is a very tough race, and I've got it on my radar maybe for the next couple of years. So hats off to all of you, because that's some pretty serious elevation. So congratulations to everyone who completed Oak Park, and also to all of you who traveled for and completed the New York City Marathon this past weekend. What a weekend it was for running. So major events this past weekend. If you are training for Every Woman's Marathon, coming up in, another 2 weeks almost, in Scottsdale, Arizona, make sure you go back and check out episode 6 of Behind the Bib. It was one of my very first episodes, one of my earlier ones, so it's a little bit, what's the word? It's not quite as polished as some of these later episodes are. I hadn't figured out pacing or sound or gotten comfortable talking to this camera or hearing my own stupid voice. But it is a real look at Every Woman's Marathon and why I immediately decided to sign up for it again this year. And speaking of Every Woman's Marathon, a big, huge shout out and thank you to Kyle Walker from Back of the Pack Podcast out of Kansas City. He's going to be guest hosting for me next week as I am going to be traveling for said marathon. So big, huge thank you to Kyle Walker and Back of the Pack. If you haven't listened to that podcast, it's one that kind of got me into this gig. I really do consider him my mentor. He helps me out, gives me advice all the time. So go over and give Back of the Pack some love, because he really puts out some great content and he puts out some great episodes. And he's since added his second episode called Back of the Pack, Second Wind. What a witty name, right? So go give him some love, because he's doing me a huge favor for guest hosting next week. So today we're doing something a little different. We're heading on a virtual marathon tour across all 50 states. So recently RaceRaves released their 2025 best marathons in the U.S. list. And so I'll be sharing which race comes out on top for each of every state, starting with Wyoming and ending with Alabama. And at the very end, I think you'll realize why I decided to end with Alabama, right? We'll cover when they happen, how long you've got to finish, because you know those cutoff times are really important to me, and what makes each one special enough to earn the title. So stay tuned. We're going to go from Alabama to Wyoming. All right, so these are the best marathons in each state from reverse A to Z order. These are based on the RaceRaves 2025 rankings. So we're going to start with Wyoming. The Jackson Hole Marathon occurs in late September. It has a 6-hour cutoff, and there's an early start option that gives you up to 6.5 hours. And what makes it special? A peaceful, high-altitude race through the Teton Valley and wide-open views with crisp fall air. Now listen, y'all, I went backpacking through Wyoming when I was in college, and I've gone to the Yellowstone National Park as well as the Tetons. And let me tell you, the Tetons, nothing compares to the Tetons. If you have the opportunity to go out to Yellowstone and do the Tetons, spend a day in Yellowstone and then spend the rest of the week in the Tetons, because they are positively beautiful. This marathon is absolutely on my bucket list. I will be doing it at one point in my future. All right, West Virginia. Talk about the Hatfield-McCoy Marathon, #1 rated marathon in West Virginia. I had to go out and verify this cutoff time because in my research it says that this marathon is one of the top walker-friendly marathons because there's no strict cutoff limit. I don't know how they do that, and I'd be interested in going up there and figuring it out. This happens in mid-June, so mid-June in West Virginia, probably not that hot yet, but it's probably not that chilly either. What makes it special? It crosses from Kentucky into West Virginia through the Appalachian backroads. You'll get homemade food, local pride, and a finish line cookout. And if anybody knows how to cook out, it's those Southerners. But is West Virginia really the South? I don't know. I wouldn't put it in the South, but I would put Kentucky in there. Rounding out the W's with Washington, the Leavenworth Marathon occurs early October. It has a 6-hour cutoff, so pretty standard cutoff. And what makes this race special? A Bavarian-themed mountain race during peak fall color, starting in Icicle Canyon and finishing Riverside in what is called a picture-perfect postcard town. Say that 3 times fast. I couldn't even say it 1 time fast. You're probably better than me. All right, Vermont, another state that I haven't been to and checked off on my states list, but the Vermont City Marathon in Burlington, Vermont is supposed to be fantastic. Time of year, Memorial Day weekend, so if you're not going to be doing Cotton Row here in Huntsville, I don't know, maybe travel up to Vermont. I bet that May marathon weekend would be fantastic up there. Cutoff time, 6.5 hours, so not tremendously back-of-the-pack friendly. It's pretty standard, but you do get that extra 30 minutes, so 6.5 hours, that's not bad. What makes it special? Lake Champlain views, live music, and a strong community support. I know I love to run through the neighborhoods where everybody's lining the neighborhoods. They come out and cheer on, and they give out things. I've got everything from pickles to mimosas to fireball shots to, yeah, that one was pretty intense, but all kinds of donuts. You know, the carbs late in the race are really great, something to actually chew because your mouth does not want to have another gel in it. It is said to be one of the most spectator-friendly marathons in the country. I'm going to put that one on my bucket list too because I've always wanted to go to Vermont, and I've heard it's just beautiful. All right, another beautiful state is Utah, the Ogden Marathon. This occurs in mid-May, so before Memorial Day. Cutoff time is 7 hours, so pretty back-of-the-pack friendly. What makes this one special? A net downhill course through Ogden Canyon alongside rivers and waterfalls. It's scenic, fast, and BQ friendly. Now, if you listen to the Rocket City Marathon episode that we recorded with Eric and Rhonda last week, the Rocket City Marathon was actually started as a net downhill course. It's no longer net downhill, but it started that way. All right, let's hit up Texas, where my friend running up that Hillary is from. The Cowtown Marathon in Fort Worth, Texas. Time of year, late February, so hopefully it's not 40 million degrees. Cutoff time, 7.5 hours. Now that's a pretty solid back-of-the-pack friendly marathon. What makes this one special? It's historic, it's inclusive, it's full of Fort Worth pride. If you're down there in Fort Worth, Texas, you'll run through the stockyards, through downtown, and through local neighborhoods in the city that shows up big. Apparently, they've got tremendous community support for that marathon, and that always makes a huge, 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 huge difference. Okay, coming up next is in Tennessee, the St. Jude Memphis Marathon. Time of year, early December. So you guys knew this one was coming, and this one is definitely on my bucket list. The St. Jude Memphis is known for the emotional running through that St. Jude hospital, that St. Jude campus, where all the patients and the families line up and cheer on the course. I've heard that it is life-changing, it's super emotional, and it's totally unforgettable. So St. Jude Memphis is definitely on my bucket list. I have not talked to one single person that did not absolutely love that marathon that had done it. All right, South Dakota. Speaking of which, if anybody out here is listening that is from South Dakota or knows a South Dakota runner, the Rocket City Marathon needs a couple of more states to fill in their map for all of the states that have registered for the Rocket City Marathon this year, and South Dakota is one of them. So if you know them, or if you knew somebody that's from South Dakota that can register for the Rocket City Marathon, even if they want to do it virtually, I think that still counts. So hit them up and send them the information for Rocket City Marathon. That would be super awesome to have the whole United States filled in, wouldn't it? Okay, but back to South Dakota. The best marathon rated in South Dakota was the Run Crazy Horse Marathon. Now, I actually visited the Crazy Horse Memorial out there when I went out there in July. It's actually fantastic. It's all privately funded, so all of the work that's being done is not government funded. It's all privately funded through their foundation, and it is fantastic. That thing is it's huge. You would not believe how huge it is. Okay, cutoff time, 7 hours, so pretty back of the pack friendly. What makes this special? It starts at the memorial. It rolls through the Black Hills, which are positively gorgeous, on the Mickelson Trail, and combines scenic beauty with deep history. Absolutely. The Crazy Horse Marathon, I think I should put that one back on my bucket list because that memorial was fantastic and it was a sight to see for sure. All right, Pennsylvania, where my son was born. Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia Marathon. I've actually never talked to one single person that has done this. So if you have done the Philadelphia Marathon, you should totally hit me up and tell me what you thought about that, because I have never talked to anybody that's done this one. And that's not saying anything about the marathon. That's just saying like how small my little world is. So time of year is mid-November, so it's probably getting pretty cool up there. Cutoff time of 7 hours. And what makes this one special? Apparently, historic landmarks, the strong crowd support, and finishing near the Art Museum steps. It's a big city race with a small race organization. So with a cutoff time of 7 hours, the Philadelphia Marathon, I think that's pretty back of the pack friendly. All right, moving on over to the ends, as in Nebraska, the Lincoln Marathon. Time of year is early May, so before Memorial Day. That springtime marathon's always great. Cutoff time of 6 hours, so not super back of the pack friendly, pretty standard with the cutoff time. What makes it special? It's fast, it's flat, and it finishes inside the Memorial Stadium with cheering fans in the stands. Kind of like Huntsville's very own Rocket City Marathon. All right, Montana, the state that has my heart. The Missoula Marathon. Time of year in late June. It seems like that would be pretty hot, but not in Montana. It's not. Haha, call me Dr. Seuss. All right, cutoff time, 7.5 hours. So super back of the pack friendly. I haven't heard of very many marathons with a more lenient cutoff time. What makes this one special? It is one of the most scenic and well-run races in the country. With big skies, they say they have very friendly locals. I can attest to that. I've been to Montana a couple of times, and it's honestly one of my very favoriteest places to visit, especially if you like areas where your cell phone don't work, and trout fishing and sitting by little creeks that are absolutely beautiful and drinking your coffee. All right, let's get back to marathons, why don't we? All right, Kansas, the Garmin Olathe, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that city's name correctly, Marathon, aka the Land of Oz Marathon. Time of year, late April, so this one is a springtime marathon with a cutoff of 6.5 hours. Not super back of the pack friendly, but it's not terrible. 6.5 hours gives you another 30 minutes past that standard 6 hours of cutoff time. What makes this one special? A Wizard of Oz themed race starting at Garmin headquarters with rolling hills, Midwest charm, and a finish line worth clicking your heels for. Now, for those of you that are fans of Wicked, this might be a really fun one. I might need to put that one on my list too, because I am down for dressing up, and that seems like one you would dress up for. Okay, Iowa, the Des Moines Marathon in time of year in mid-October. I bet that's really nice. Cutoff time is 7 hours. What makes this one special? Urban neighborhoods, park trails, and a final lap on the blue track at Drake Stadium. Let's move on over to Indiana. My brother lived there for years and years. This one is the Monumental Marathon in Indianapolis. Time of year is early November, so probably starting to get pretty chilly up there. Cutoff time is 6.5 hours, so not super back of the pack friendly, but you get that extra 30 minutes again to add to the standard 6-hour cutoff time. So what makes this one special? It's fast and flat and fall perfect. Apparently, it's one of the best marathons in the country for PRs and Boston qualifiers. All right. And just be careful with them moving the time on you. Okay, let's go over to Illinois. The Quad Cities Marathon time of year is late September. Cutoff time is 7 hours. So pretty back of the pack friendly, more so than 6.5 hours, less so than 7.5 hours. See how that works? What makes it special? It crosses 2 states and 3 bridges over the Mississippi River, finishing with a lively riverfront festival. That actually sounds really fun. Although bridges you have to go up, but on the downside, you get to come down as well. So a lot of times, if you listen to the Rocket City Marathon episode that I did with Eric and Rhonda, a lot of times just adding a few hills in there feels really nice because it gives the muscles that haven't been working so much on the flat roads, on the flat areas. It gives you a chance to work different muscle groups, and it can be kind of relieving to some of them. So Quad City Marathons, I might need to look into that one. Okay, Idaho, I'm going to screw up this name for sure. Coeur d'Alene Marathon. So I'm guessing Coeur, that means like heart, right? So the Heart of Elaine Marathon, I wonder if that's what it translates to. If anybody out there knows, let me know, because it seems like that would be what that would translate to. All right, Idaho, time of year is late May, so out there with the Memorial Day area. Cutoff time, 6.5 hours. Again, not super back of the pack friendly, but kind of back of the pack friendly because you get that extra 30 minutes. What makes it special? A lakefront course framed by pine forests and mountains with cool temps and a small town vibe. You know I love me some small town races. Let's see. Let's head over to Hawaii. This one is definitely on my bucket list. The Honolulu Marathon. The time of year is early December. No time limit cutoff. So lots of folks travel out to Honolulu to tick off their first marathon bucket list thing. And then that's how we set the hook, y'all. You do your first one. You're coming back for more. Don't worry. Cutoff time, again, no limit. What makes this one special? Do I even have to say this? You're in Hawaii. It's in Honolulu. It has a sunrise start. You run by the ocean, the Diamond Head climb. It's all in all one of the most inclusive marathons on the planet that you can possibly do. Again, like that Hatfield McCoy, no official cutoff time. You just do it. You keep going until you're done. How cool. Up next is Georgia. The Chickamauga Battlefield Marathon used to take, what are they called? Field trips. That's the word, Lisa. I used to take field trips to the Chickamauga Battlefield when I was in school. So time of year is mid-November. Cutoff time, 6.5 hours. What makes this one special? Quiet, rolling hills through a national military park lined with 700 monuments of history at every turn. So, however, I wouldn't stop and read every single one of those. I'd probably have trouble making that 6.5 hour cutoff. All right, Florida, this goes without saying. Of course, everybody loves to go down and do the Walt Disney World Marathon. Time of year, early January. Cutoff time, 7 hours. That equates to about a 16-minute pace. You can pretty much walk this thing. Just stay in front of those balloon ladies. What makes this special? A run through all of Disney parks with entertainment characters in a signature Disney production level. I will say this was my very first marathon because I was scared to death of not making a marathon time cutoff. And so I did the Disney. and the Disney Marathon is positively wonderful. It has one of the most generous cutoff times there are. It is super fun. You run through all of the parks. You do have to get on a bus at 3:30 a.m. though to get to the start line. So, and that is no joke. You got to get on that bus very early. And this one sells out like within seconds of it opening. So if you want to try to do the Walt Disney World Marathon, you better be on that page on 16 different browsers and 3 different computers and 2 phones to try to get into that. All right, Delaware, the Rehoboth Beach Seashore Marathon. So I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that exactly correctly, but I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm not. Rehoboth? Rehoboth Beach? Okay. Rehoboth Beach Seashore Marathon. Again, say that 6 times fast. I'm not sure why I just said 6. Like, usually people say 3 times fast, but in my head it was 6. So I guess maybe 5 is doable, but 6 was not. I don't know. I digress. Time of year, early December. Cutoff time, 7 hours. Pretty back of the pack friendly. What makes this one special? Flat coastal route with a relaxed December vibe and an after party that runners actually stick around for. So those after parties are my jam. Love them. All right, Connecticut. We're moving on up the alphabet now. The Hartford Marathon up there in the Northeast. Time of year, mid-October. By golly, I bet that's beautiful. Cutoff time, 6 hours. What makes this one special? Classic New England fall colors, a finish under the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arch, and a great organization to this race. So if you're looking to do a Connecticut to tick off your 50 states, apparently the Hartford Marathon is one to go check out. Even if it's just for those fall colors, I think I would totally do it. All right, Colorado, Pikes Peak Marathon. Time of year, late August. Seems like it would be pretty hot, but up there without elevation, it's not so bad. Cutoff time, 10 hours. Strict aid station cutoffs on this one. What makes this one so special? A brutal and beautiful climb from Manitowoc Springs to the 14,115-foot summit and back. An absolute legend of a race. Running buddies and I have always wanted to go out there and do the Imogene. They've done that one, I think, a couple of times before, at least once, done the Imogene Pass race. And so, but it sounds like Pikes Peak might be really interesting to do anyway. If anybody has done this race, let me know, because my daughter actually lives out there and I could just go see her and do this race. That would be really cool. All right. Let's hit up the California Big Sur International Marathon. You heard the hilarious and awesome Jerry Clifton that organizes the Rainsville Freedom Run and the Crazies talk about the Big Sur International Marathon and how beautiful that was. Time of year, late April. Cutoff time is 6 hours, so not super back of the pack friendly. Pretty standard cutoff time, but what makes it special? Coastal cliffs, redwoods, taiko drums, and famous for tuxedo pianist at Bixby Bridge, the definition of bucket list. So I bet that really is beautiful, and maybe one day I can get out there and do it with Jerry Clifton and his buddy Pam, who is still going, by the way, on their run streak. I think yesterday I saw that it was day 1990. It was something like that. So he's up to the 90s. All right, Arkansas. Of course, you know this one was coming, the Little Rock Marathon. I may actually try to get to this one next year because dadgum, those medals, y'all know that I absolutely love me some big old honkin' medals, and the Little Rock Marathon absolutely has them. Time of year, early March. Cutoff time, 8 hours. Y'all, you could crawl this and complete this marathon. What makes it special, besides the stinking awesome medals, is the creative costumes people do in an atmosphere that truly celebrates every runner. Okay, Arizona, the Mesa Marathon. Time of year is early February. So if you're wanting to get a race early in the year, that Arizona Mesa Marathon might be one to choose. Cutoff time is 6 hours. And what makes it special? A gentle downhill desert course with fireworks at the start and a high Boston qualifier rate. So the Mesa Marathon sounds pretty stinking awesome as well. Gosh, y'all, don't you just want to go do every single one of these? There's not enough time and my legs they can't do enough. All right, fine. Let's get back to it. Alaska, the Anchorage Mayor's Marathon. I've heard about this one a whole lot. Time of year, late June, aka summer solstice. So June 21st, 22nd, around that time every year. Let's see, cutoff time, 6 hours. So pretty standard, not super back of the pack friendly, but 6 hours to do an Alaskan marathon. I think we could do that. What makes this one special? So coastal trails, mountain backdrops, and a uniquely Alaskan race where daylight lasts all night. Boy, that would be really cool. All of these sound so cool. I want to do them all. Okay, let's see. And rounding out the top marathon in all 50 states, the top marathon may be in your state, with my home state, the good old sweet home, Alabama. You guessed it. The one, the only, the Rocket City Marathon was rated again top marathon in Alabama. Time of year in mid-December. The cutoff time is 6 hours. However, if you listen to my episode last week, they have an early start. But boy, that early start, you better really need it. Don't try to go out there and run a 2.5 hour marathon with an early start option. Just want to get finished early. Nope, that's not what it's for. It's for the back of the packers. You can start early and get 7 hours if you want it and / need it. You do have to there's some rules. You have to have a headlamp and stuff like that. They want you to be safe, okay? So they are doing all of the right things. And y'all, if you cannot absolutely make it this year, next year is the 50th anniversary of this marathon. You are not going to want to miss it. We are doing mashups with Back of the Pack podcast. I'm reaching out to Run Your Story down in Mobile. I'm trying my best to make Rocket City Marathon 50th anniversary edition to be spectacular, out of this world, right? But my kids love it when I make jokes like that. They think I am so very, very funny. All right, time of year. This one occurs mid-December. Every December for the last 49 years. Cutoff time, 6 hours. Early start, again, extends to 7 hours if you really, really need it. What makes it special? What doesn't make it special? You get to run through the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. So space nerds out there, if you're listening out there in Washington or Kansas or Minnesota or whatever, and you're a space nerd, this is the only marathon in the United States that runs through a rocket park under a space shuttle. All right, it runs past the Saturn V rocket. The finishers, it finishes inside the von Braun Center. Of course, Werner von Braun was one of the founding rocket scientists here in the Apollo program. It is just huge, huge, huge here, and it's been a Huntsville tradition since 1977. And if you didn't listen to that episode last week, you should go listen to it because I learned a whole heck of a lot. All right, so that wraps up the top marathons in all 50 states, U.S., continental, and with Alaska and Hawaii. And if you know of a really good one in Puerto Rico, send me a note and I will add that the next time I do something like this. If you have a favorite local race or a run club that you would like to see featured on Behind the Bib, send me a message because I'm always collecting content ideas. My absolute goal for Behind the Bib is twofold. I want Behind the Bib to be inclusive. I want it to represent all runners, no matter your shape, your size, your pace, whatever. I want it to represent everyone out there because I think that this is tremendously helpful for our mental health, for us just walking around in our everyday life, because it just proves to us every time we step out the door that we can do hard things, and hard things don't just occur out there on the road or on the trails. We can do hard things in life as well. So if you have an idea for a run club or of a race that you would like to see featured on Behind the Bib, please reach out to me and I would love to start the discussion. Okay? Speaking of races and run clubs and stuff like that, let's talk about some upcoming races. All right, November 8th, this coming weekend, is the Huntsville Half Marathon, sponsored by the Huntsville Track Club. This is a Huntsville Track Club Grand Prix event. Also on November 8th, if you don't have a half marathon in you, might want to go check out the Quack Attack 5K. November 15th is the Owens Crossroads Turkey Trot. I'm going to be doing a whole Turkey Trot episode next week. Don't miss that one. November 16th is the Run Santa Run. November 22nd is the Running for Rescues 5K, 10K. That's out there in Boaz. November 22nd is also the Dam Bridge Run 10K. November 27th is the Tracks for Max Turkey Trot 5K, and November 30th is the Diddle Landing 10K. I'm going to try to get signed up for that race. I'm a little bit scared about doing a 10K that close to the marathon, but you know what? Forward is a pace, and I'm just going to keep getting the miles on legs. AJ, if you're listening, I was listening. All right. Also, if you're listening and you have an upcoming race that you'd like to have mentioned on the podcast, shoot me a DM or email me at lisa@behindthebibpodcast.com. Fleet Feet continues to be one of the best community connectors in Huntsville. Check out their local event board and sign up for something new today. So a lot of these races, if they're not Fleet Feet races, they are sponsored by Fleet Feet. So go check them out. They have a whole race calendar on their website, Fleet Feet Huntsville and Madison. They have a whole race calendar. You can go check out all of the upcoming events. Behind the Bib has a few discount codes out there. I don't get any kickbacks from it. I just want to help people. That's like founding principle number 2 of Behind the Bib. Number 1 is inclusivity. Number 2 is be helpful. So there's 2 discount codes out there to help you right now. Knox Gear. So I have several products from Knox Gear. I have the Light Hound. I have the wrist lights. I have the light up running vest. I have the Light Hound for the puppies. I have several Light Hounds actually because I have several puppies. So, but don't forget to use code Behind the Bib on Knox Gear for your visibility needs. This code is applicable even with their discounts that are going on. You get an additional 5% off. I know it's not a lot, but it's something. And you know what? The government's shut down. A lot of us aren't getting paychecks. So there you go. Bib boards. So this is a pretty big announcement actually. I was selected as the Bib Board ambassador for 2026. And so they have given me a discount code called Behind the Bib. So if you haven't ever used bib boards, my friend and running buddy Mina got me my first set of bib boards. I'm showing them to the camera right now if you're just listening to me. But bib boards are these little plastic connectors. They're like a grommet kind of thing, except they don't actually pierce all the way through your shirt when you put your bib on. They just attach the shirt from the front and the back. So I'll show you real quick. So you have the front piece and you have the back piece, and then you just put your bib through the bib and through your shirt, and so you don't get pinholes in your shirt all the time. So super awesome, and a big huge thank you out to Mina for getting me my first set of bib boards, and I loved them so much that I actually contacted them and said, hey, this is super cool. And then the whole ambassador thing happened, and now I have a discount code that you can use as well, called, you guessed it, Behind the Bib. All right, coming up soon, I'm so excited, you guys. We have collaborations with Back of the Pack and Run Your Story out of Mobile down there at the Mississippi Gulf Coast. What is the Kessler Gulf Coast? I just call it Gulf Coast, and I can't even remember the actual name of it. It's the Mississippi Gulf Coast Marathon, something like that. Anyway, we got collaborations with Back of the Pack and Run Your Story out of Mobile. We're going to be running up that Hillary, who is so stinking funny, who's going to be joining me to recap the Every Woman's Marathon and also see how she shaved off 14 minutes from her marathon time using run walk intervals. So that was pretty super cool. In January, I'm going to be launching a run club tour, spotlighting local clubs and events. Then in February, we're going to be celebrating a heart healthy month. I've got some super cool stuff lined up for February. And then also some stuff that I'm working for International Women's Day. And then that is like the first quarter of 2026. Dang, can you believe that? Okay. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Please go out there and check Behind the Bib Podcast on Instagram, Behind the Bib on Facebook, and Behind the Bib Podcast on YouTube, as well as TikTok, where you can see me apparently running through Walmart. And lots of other people did too. I am delighted to be here. Thank you so much for listening. Again, thank you for doing all of the things. I really do think that this is making a tremendous difference. Which is my intention, is to help everybody out there feel like you absolutely belong in this community. No matter your size, no matter your pace, no matter your ability level, you belong here. All right. Speaking of being here, thanks to you all for being here. Let's keep showing up for one another, whether you are first, whether you are last, whether you are somewhere in between. I'll see y'all next time. We're Behind the Bib. Take care. You've been listening to Behind the Bib, where we have real talk for every runner.